What's up, guys? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. Today I'm going to give you a full review of the 2025 National Championship that I just competed in. It's basically just going to be a thorough recap, everything from pre-nationals to post-nationals. So how did training prep go, all the way through to what's next. All right, so without further ado, let's just get right into it. I'm going to try and keep things as short and sweet as possible, but at the same time, I don't want to gloss over anything that I think would provide some really important insight. And and anything you want me to expand on, just ask me in the comments. I have no problem talking about it. And then the last thing I'll say too is I did put up a poll on Instagram. It's like a questions and answers poll, and you guys submitted plenty of questions. Thank you for that. I'm really excited to answer some of those and break some of those down, especially with this new situation with the IPF banning the stiff sleeves, because a lot of questions were around that topic. I'm just not sure if I'm going to put that snippet or put me running through those questions in this video. It just might end up being too long, but we'll see. Either way, rest assured those questions will get answered, so definitely be on the lookout for that if it's not in this video. Before we begin, guys, we are in sunny Charleston, Isle of Palms, right, Heidi, this is called? Yeah, Isle of Palms. Heidi was so sweet, and for my birthday, March 18th was my birthday, she got us a week stay in like this beach vacation-y spot in South Carolina, Charleston. And what's really cool is, first of all, I'm a beach guy. I love the ocean. But what's really cool about this spot is I've been thinking about moving, and I'm not really sure where I want to go. Charleston, South Carolina is one of the spots on my list. So this not only is a nice place to kind of relax, chill, even be a little productive and stuff, but really take in the scenery, enjoy each other, all of that. But it's also a really nice time to check out the area because I've never been to Charleston before. So super excited about it. But anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. So, man, this is a tough one. I guess I should start with the placings. So I ended up placing fourth. We missed our final pull, which could have potentially put us in first place, although I'll talk about that later on. We ended with like an 891.5 kg total or something like that, which honestly is pretty fucking good considering the fact that we did that with a 727 deadlift, which is nothing. So, and we walked away with an American and unofficial, so it's an official American squat record, but unofficial world record, of course, with 765 on the squat, which is awesome. Really happy about that. But yeah, we'll talk about all that in a second. I just, that's the results. So, and we are in the 93 kg weight class. So, training. Training before the meet, it's tricky to summarize how prep was going because, to be completely honest with you, I dealt with quite a few injuries, and they weren't serious injuries, but they were bad enough to take me out of a couple important sessions or maybe even a week or two. And a lot of it was just really severe tendonitis in my shoulders, mainly my rotator cuffs. So that kept kind of flaring up, and even as early as 4 weeks out, I was dealing with that stuff and just tons of pain and just kind of managing that. But I don't want to sit here and say that that's a reason why we didn't see any sort of massive progress in any given movement. Okay, we managed it well. It was totally manageable, and I don't think that it impacted performance in the long run. I just think it's worth mentioning. And then also too, I had the flu pretty bad 9 weeks out, and so I lost an entire week of training, and so therefore quite a bit of momentum from our first real block of prep going into the meet. But again, I don't think that it mattered that much. Yes, it was frustrating, but we were able to still capture some momentum we were building from block one, and we were able to make progress. It wasn't I don't know. Can I sit here and say I would have totaled 950 had I not gotten the flu? No. So I just want to mention it because this is a YouTube video. I can be more explanatory. I can be more thorough. So that's how that went. But then in terms of the actual prep itself, the training itself, honestly, training was pretty strong. We made some tweaks going into this meet with squats, especially, that really helped turn up the heat. And we've seen some adaptations on squat recently that I haven't seen in years. And I'm really excited about the future because of that. There's still some changes we're going to make, but man, dude, we made some changes to programming and small tweaks, but I think are really they're going to pay itself forward tenfold, truly. So bench was going well. My bench kind of it was on a climb towards like 500, maybe a little bit more, and then I kind of felt it slowly go on the decline. It was mainly because of fatigue. I do too many accessories, man. I beat the shit out of myself, and I think that kind of came back to bite me going into the meet. Luckily, the taper did work pretty well, but it's not like I got anything out of the taper really. I kind of just I kind of like brought my strength back to baseline after having tanked it through all the fatigue, as opposed to like letting it kind of just slingshot past baseline. And then deadlifts were really, really good. Like all prep, deadlifts were really strong, the strongest they've ever been. Grip was the best it's ever been. It's because of Iron Claw Gym Chalk. Like I'm not gonna sit here and bullshit you. All movements were at minimum baseline, and to me, baseline for me means like 920 kg total. Like I know that at NAPFs, I had like a 910 to 915 in me on that day, just based on a little bit more on bench and then a little bit more on deadlift. But going into this meet, I genuinely believed. You know what? We'll talk about it in a second, but I'll just say this. I genuinely believe that I was the strongest I've ever been. And so I'm not going to at all try and say, well, this didn't go the way I wanted to, and prep wasn't that great, and this wasn't that, to try and make excuses for not winning. Like, that's not who we are. That's not what we're going to do. Every single athlete has circumstances that are completely valid, that are completely real. No one's saying that the experience or the externals don't affect you. No one's saying that they aren't real. However, it doesn't fucking change anything. You have one job to do, to show up, compete, and win. That's it. Everybody has externals. Sometimes your circumstances are better than others, and sometimes they're not. We all have to adapt and overcome. That's part of the contract. So I'm not going to sit here and say and point fingers and say this, that, this person, that person. I'm not going to do that. Okay? So I don't want you guys to think that any of the things I'm talking about are important enough to justify a loss. My loss. All right? We simply just were not good enough on the day. It's that simple. We just got to get better. Okay? All right. So let's go into the weight cut. So my body weight was 207 to 209 the whole week, which is great. Like that's pretty much the lowest I've ever been going into a meet since South Africa Worlds. My training weight was around 210. Everything was pretty normal. I did a very, very mild gut cut. Lane Norton gave me a phenomenal protocol for NAPFs that it's the first time a gut and like water cut procedure that didn't include a sauna, didn't include sweating rather. It's the first time that something like that worked for me, and it worked really well, almost a little too well. And so going to this meet, I was like, you know what? Let me just kind of cut the intensity of that in half, and it worked. So I basically just manipulated like the mass of the food that I was eating. So we switched over. If you guys saw the grocery haul video, we switched over to mainly basically just foods that aren't dense. So I'm not eating like super whole foods like steak and chicken and lots of rice and stuff like that. Everything is pretty much just like protein shakes, candy, Pop-Tarts, maybe some juice, bananas, fruit, stuff that allows me to hit certain macro targets, but isn't going to just take up tons of space in my stomach. So yeah, and then obviously some slight sodium manipulation, didn't really water load much at all, and then some slight fiber manipulation. But in short, I basically only had to sauna about a pound or two the morning of the meet, which was phenomenal. We found a really good sauna at the LA Fitness nearby, and it worked out perfect. So that was super smooth, super easy. It's actually almost enjoyable, to be honest with you. So I think I had started that sauna session around 205.6-ish in pounds, and then I finished my sauna session at like 203.8. So my intention was to go in super light because I'm used to like big water cuts, so it wouldn't affect me. Well, it would affect me, but it wouldn't be as egregious. I've cut like 10 to 12 pounds of water in one day for a meet, and then recomped and hit a world record. So I'm not saying that to gloat. I'm just telling you what the potential is. You know what I mean? So I wasn't too afraid of that, and I figured it'd be better to risk having a shittier recomp or harder recomp while getting the advantage of body weight in the meet than to not have that advantage. So I wanted to try and weigh in the lightest, and I believe I did. So I was like 92.14 or something like that, or at least the lightest among the guys who I think would have been, maybe top 5, top 3. So that all worked. So weight cut was totally fine. In my post-nationals thoughts section, I'll talk about what I think I'm going to do with my weight moving forward. But yeah, all in all, weight cut was easy. Okay, now like the really important stuff. So meet strategy. In short, we were trying to go 771 on squat, 500 on bench, and like 771 to 785, maybe even 800, if I'm being completely honest with you, on deadlift. That was the plan. So we truly believed, and this is not some bullshit prediction, like this is genuinely what we believed we were capable of based on training data. 932 and a half. That was pretty much the number that we came up with. That was like, this is not just possible. This is what we can do. Like, we can do this. This isn't like a reach. And obviously on the day, unfortunately, things did not shape up that way, which I'm not going to lie to you. This is a lesson for a lot of younger lifters who compete. Chances are, whatever number goal you have for the meet, you'll almost always kind of fall short of it. So try and beef it up a little bit more. Like aim for the 945, aim for the 950, and you'll probably land around that 930, 925 range, right? Aim for the 930, you might end up a little bit less. The reason why is because in a meet, things happen, things change, right? And the pressure is a little bit different. The choices you make are the reasons why you'd make a certain choice might change. It might be more affected by the environment and the circumstance than you realize. And so it's, of course, it's easy when everything's chill, everything's good, you feel good, you didn't wake up, you didn't do anything, you don't have any competition, whatever, to think to yourself like, oh yeah, I could do that, that, and that. But then on game day, things change. The only time that doesn't happen really is when you're just way ahead of your class and you don't really, like, yeah, you have competition, but dude, if you're winning by, a clean 40, 50 kilos, and by that I mean like nobody else is missing attempts in order for you to have that gap, like everybody's doing really, really well and having their best day, and you're still clearing 30 to 50 kilos above them, yeah, I mean, you probably don't have to worry about that, But if you're in a really, really tight competitive race, then yeah, these externals can impact your decision making. And so, yeah, my point, I guess, is just take your goal, raise it a little bit. That way, if you fall short, it's almost like shoot for the moon, land among the stars, basically, is, I think, what we're trying to say. Or what is it? Shoot for the stars, land on the moon, something like that. Anyway. Okay, so where were we? So meet strategy, like I said, I was aiming for 932 and a half. And, yeah, like I said, it wasn't really there. But I'm telling you, based on my training, like I said, I don't want to bullshit anyone. Like, that's genuinely what we felt we were capable of. And really, we were almost there on all those lifts except for deadlift. Yeah, but we'll talk about that now. So, the actual meet day performance. We'll go lift by lift. Recomp-wise, this was the first meet where I feel like I truly fucking nailed my recomp. I've learned so many lessons from recomping, and I actually still use a protocol that Kedrick, my old nutrition coach, shout out to him, that he used to give me, and I kind of combine it a little bit with like what Lane's approach is, but honestly they're very similar. Like at the end of the day, the nutritional science is nutritional science, and it works really, really well. The issue that I had at NAPFs is that the sodium was too concentrated, so just not enough water, and that completely wrecked my stomach the entire day. I was very, very cautious of that going into this meet. I was also very cautious of making sure the timing of my carbohydrates was on point. So you can really kind of only use like up to 100 grams of carbs from what I've heard from some of these guys in the space. You can only use up to about 100 grams of carbs per hour. And by use, I mean like digest and absorb, like uptake. So for me to overconsume just wouldn't make sense. And I'd rather my body focus on and spend its energy on, keeping the water, taking in the sodium and the electrolytes and stuff, than just having to digest and break down tons of carbs. So I basically just kept myself at like, I want to say 60 to 80, maybe 60 to 100 grams of carbs, pretty much per hour. And that just meant like sipping on my Pedialytes with dextrose and all that stuff. So we did that really, really well. It literally was not until deadlifts that I started to get the shits, which definitely affected things a little bit, I'm not going to lie, because I was definitely thinking about it. And I felt it, your stomach just starts to churn and whatever. But that's great. Like, that's really good. To not have to shit throughout the entire meet is pretty spectacular. And even my pee, like, I wasn't urinating more than probably, I don't think I went to the bathroom more than 4 times the entire meet, which may sound like a lot to some people, but like, you got to think about across 3 to 4 hours of competing, constantly taking in fluids. Yeah, I mean, plus nerves and stuff like that, like that's pretty good. Like sometimes I'm being like upwards of like fucking 6 to 8, maybe even 10 times. Okay, so what else? Okay, so the actual lifting. So squats honestly went pretty well. Like, I think that I peaked pretty well for squats. I genuinely believe that we had, strength-wise, we had upwards of, I think we had 771 on the day. That was the original plan. The reason why I opted downwards was because we took the 755 or whatever it was for the second attempt to chip our record. And the 755, it looked really fast to everyone else, but it felt kind of hard on my back. Granted, I wasn't amped up for it really, but I just wasn't so impressed with the speed that I was like, okay, you know what, I'm willing to risk not going into deadlifts with something higher than 755. Like, I know I need something higher than 755. So I went into it thinking like, okay, I have an option here. I can either take 771, even if we get it on strength, there's a high chance we'll miss it on depth, because that, just statistically, that's kind of like what tends to happen. Or I can go a little bit lighter, have a little more confidence in that, bro, it's 10 pounds. Like, what do you mean I can't throw 10 pounds on what I just did? There were some technique changes, not major, but some technique changes I reinstilled, and I was just simply more mindful of going to the third squat. I just knew, like, okay, if I take 765, it's 100% there. Like, I can do this. And again, just like I said, the nature of the meet, you start to make these decisions because it's like, I need to go 6 for 6. I need to get every movement. I need to get every lift because I can't afford to keep missing lifts, or I can't afford to miss any lift if I want to win. And so that's why I made that decision. And that did kind of cost me in the end, which, another lesson learned, right? So it is what it is. I do think 771 was there, but I will be honest, 755 felt heavy despite how fast it looked. And but the 765 I did felt easier. And it originally got 2 reds, 1 white, so it was bad lift. And then the jury overturned it. From what my coach told me, he went up to jury table. It was a unanimous decision among the jury table. They all thought it looked good. So, and I know in the back of my mind, like, I know how my squats feel. That 765 was the same tech and felt just as deep as the 755. When the 755, I believe, got, was it 3 whites or 2 whites, something like that? Whatever. It's all hearsay. I have to talk about it. So we ended with 765. Then going into bench is a little tricky because, it's not that it's hit or miss, but I kind of never really know how I'm going to feel on bench. So the opener felt pretty heavy. Then the second attempt felt better, and then the third attempt felt great. So we ended up with 484 when the original goal was like 491 to 496, maybe 500. And again, that kind of cost us a little bit, but I'm very happy with the bench attempt selections because of how things went and how things were going during prep towards the meet. Because the previous week, my last heavy week of training, I failed 491 in the gym, and it was more like a tech thing. But dude, like, the stress was crazy. That I didn't talk about this, but the 2 weeks prior to the meet, I had some crazy personal life stuff going on. Just got some news that just really kind of was pretty devastating, and it was really stressful, to say the least. So dealing with that, and then right from that, having to travel and compete in, I would say one of the biggest meets of my life, it was definitely a challenge. But I'm grateful, I was able to give those burdens to God, and I wasn't alone in fighting that. So. But anyway, I say all that to say some of that stress definitely impacted the end of my, like, week 3 training, right, which is the last week before nationals. And we ended up only getting like a 475 bench on that primary session. So yeah, all in all, I'm happy with bench selections. Like I said, I absolutely need to be a 550-pound bencher. Like, there's just no excuse not to be. Well, we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then deadlifts, man, dude, deadlifts are tough because I genuinely thought I had more in me based on prep, but I just didn't. Opener flew, second attempt flew. I definitely was feeling the fatigue from the meet because I don't do SBD days anymore, which I'm going to change, I think. But I'm definitely feeling the fatigue of the meet. But at the same time, the weight was flying. So usually what I do, and this is kind of how I judge like RPE too, right? I look at a movement and I say, okay, how did it feel? If it gets a shitty rating, fine, but that doesn't mean that shitty rating is an accurate rating of the effort or the exertion, okay? I have to look at the speed as well, because if the speed is there, it's really fast, I'm probably just being a little bitch, okay? And a lot of times that's what happens. I'll take a warm-up of like 660, 683, I'm like, oh my gosh, that felt disgusting. And then I look at it and it's super fast. I go up to 750 or 740, whatever my prescribed top set is for the day, and it flies. Or it doesn't fly, but it moves really, really well. So it's a sign that like sometimes how it feels, just because something feels heavy doesn't mean you can't do it, and doesn't mean that the feeling is an accurate depiction of reality, okay? So again, going into deadlifts, I genuinely thought that I had way more in the tank than just 750. The reason why, a lot of people were asking this question, the reason why I make such big jumps on deadlift is because I don't see the value in taking close numbers when the goal is to win. So for me, a light opener is basically like my last warm-up. The opener doesn't fucking matter in my opinion. Like there's no point in opening heavy. It does not make sense to me whatsoever. If you miss that shit, you lost your entire meet. You don't even get the record, you don't get anything. If you make it, great, now you can move on. Now, I'm so used to making 100-pound jumps on deadlift in my training, I think it's great because it saves me. It saves my gas. When my body doesn't know a number, okay guys? Like your body doesn't know what 700 pounds is. It just feels the weight, and based on that has to exert X amount of force to lift the weight. That's why like the more amped up you get, the more into the fight or flight state you get, you can activate, let's say, more of your body to move more weight. Like that's basically how it is, right? So to me, it makes zero sense to burn my ass out on an opener or even a second attempt when what really matters is the third. So opener is always light. It'll probably always be light. I just don't see the point in bumping up an opener unless I get so strong that, let's say like my top end is 850 on deadlift. Sure, open at 700. Why not? But if I open at 750, that's a 100-pound difference. Whatever my second is, like, bro, 50 pounds, your body doesn't know what 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds is. The weight is the weight. I can tell you right now, anything between like 730 and like 760 for me is pretty much always gonna feel pretty similar. It's because it's just kind of like the same weight for me, like in the way my body perceives it. And pretty soon, when I'm deadlifting 850 or 820 or whatever, I can almost guarantee you anything between probably like 782 and 815 are just gonna feel pretty similar. So you see what I mean? Like you have to make the right decision for you. And for me, it makes sense to save my gas. Now, the second attempt is questionable because you lose so much of your total when you take a lower second attempt and try and throw that Hail Mary for the third, which is what I like to do. But again, I'm not there to place second or third. I don't give a fuck about the placings. This is powerlifting. Like, if you're not first, you're last. I'm sorry. And I don't mean any disrespect to any competitors who place second or third and are really proud of that. You should be proud of that. If your goal was to place second, great. My goal is to place first. So if I'm not first, it doesn't matter what I am because I'm not first. That's all I care about when it comes to placing. So why the fuck do I give a shit about, well, if I do this, then I'll get a deadlift medal at Worlds, or if I do this, and then at least I'll get second or third. Bro, no. Now, there might be a situation where there is just no shot at me placing first, and the only shot is the next best alternative to try and take second or third. That's a little bit different. Like I said, everything's circumstantial, but when you're going into the meet, you're thinking, I need to win, I need to take first place, period. And so my deadlift attempts are lined up so that I can give myself the best chance at winning on that third pull. In a perfect world, it doesn't have to come down to that third pull. In a perfect world, I'm pretty far ahead of my competition, and I can win on my second, easily. I can take 750 on a second, or 730 on a second, or even guarantee 760, 771 on a second, and be like, yeah, this is gonna wrap up the meet. Then I don't need to worry about taking the third. I don't need to worry about having gas for the third. But that's not the position I was in. And so to me, it made more sense to do that. Yeah, of course, let me put it this way. If I took 750, right? First of all, I know if I took 750, I definitely probably wouldn't have had the gas for 782, let alone, 800 or something like that. So that's number one. Number two, let's say I took 750, what would that bump up my total by? Like another, I don't know, 20 kilos or something like that? What did I take? Like 330 or 325? So it would have been like another, like 15 kilos. So instead of 892, I would have had, like 907 and a half? Who gives a fuck? So it's a PR total for me, great. but it still is a losing total. It still is not enough to win. So who gives a shit? There is no difference between a 0 kg total and a 900 kg total when the first place total is 917 and a half or 920 or whatever. That's how I see it. So yeah, that's how meet day went. So post-national thoughts. This is tough because there's so much here that I want to unpack, and I feel like I'm just not going to do it justice. But there are some major keys or some major concepts here that I know I definitely want to cover. But it's hard, it's tough. I've lost a lot as an athlete, and I think it's one of the trade-offs when you have such like a fast rise. Like I started powerlifting in 2019. I won Junior Worlds in 2021, and then like in my 6-year career as a powerlifter, I've competed at 2 Sheffields. I've set world records. I've been to multiple Open World Championships, and I'm not saying that to gloat or anything like that. I'm just saying that very few athletes have done that in that amount of time, it's. I told 880, as a junior 93, which I don't think is that impressive, but for that time was pretty ahead. And I think the downside to that is you fail hard and you fail fast. Because you don't get the time, the 10 years it takes most people of just going through the ropes and really, really, like going through your local meets, placing 6th at nationals, and then going through your local meets again, and then placing 4th at national, and doing that for years, and then now all of a sudden, okay, boom, now we're 1st at nationals, and now it's the world's journey and stuff like that. Like I didn't have that. I kind of just went from 0 to 100, and so all of my failures are in front of the world, and all of my failures are big. It's not just losing a local meet or losing a record. It's losing a record in front of thousands of people. It's losing a championship, like a world championship that you spent so much of your own money, time, energy to go to compete in, your family. It's just, there's so much I can unpack here. But I wouldn't have it any other way, because I realize, and I think I talked about this in my Instagram post, iron sharpens iron, and I realized that I believe that my potential is so great. I was born to be so great, and by the way, I believe you were too. But I believe my potential was so great. The only way I could get better is by having this degree of failure. It's the only way. Nothing else would be strong enough to sharpen me, and I truly believe that. And the proof is in the pudding every single time. And it's a choice to get better as a result of failure and adversity. And I thank God that He's given me the courage to make that choice over and over and over again. Because there was a time in my life, especially when I was younger, playing mainstream sports and stuff like that, I was really, really good until I wasn't. And then when I got hit with that adversity, I quit. And when it came to this, I can't be that person anymore, And so I thank God that He gives me the courage to make that choice, to consistently battle adversity and overcome it and just get better. But anyway, yeah, so the adversity is hard. I've lost a lot. This was by far the hardest loss of my entire career. I will never forget the visual or the feeling of missing that third pull, coming to the back, hearing the whole crowd go crazy when Keiko pulls for the win, everybody in the warm-up room goes crazy, and then my boy Anthony McNaughton, phenomenal athlete, just broke a record of his own. He's going to Worlds, so proud of him. We're both Team Song. Our coach is John Song, and he won. I'm so proud of him. And by the way, I'm happy for Keiko. I'm proud of him. It's great. It's not about them. It's about my inefficiency, my inadequacy. And then other people from the session obviously winning and going to Worlds. So I'm hearing all this and I'm seeing all this, and I truly felt like I deserved this. I deserved to have this. I truly felt like I was ready. I've been through so much to get to this point. The meet was near perfect. And it came down to that last bit, and we didn't get it. And that was gut-wrenching, really heartbreaking, really disappointing, challenged my faith quite a bit. Definitely has made me question whether or not I am favored, whether or not, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth getting into that, but I definitely it was a hard loss to have to witness everyone celebrating something that I felt I deserved. But it was a nice reminder that winning is unforgiving, and it doesn't give a fuck who the hardest worker in the room is. The hardest worker doesn't always win. There is no bias. And I think that it's an unforgiving nature that I've had to embrace because that's part of the contract. When you commit yourself to becoming a champion, you sign on the dotted line. Nothing is guaranteed. You're not entitled to anything. Just because you did the work, just because you have good intention, just because you compete with integrity and you whatever, you give your all, who gives a fuck? That doesn't mean you're gonna win. And that's the truth of it. And that's part of like the realness of it. And this was like a nice reminder of that. I was angry. I was very, very angry. Again, not at my competitors. Like I want the best for them. I'm happy for them. I want them to be fucking strong. I want them to be the strongest they've ever been because it'll make me stronger. Like I genuinely want that. So it's not about them. It's just about me. Because when you in powerlifting, especially powerlifting is a very lonely sport. Only one person can step on that platform and execute, and it's you. It'll never be anyone more than just yourself. Even in training, there's no brotherhood, there's no teamwork, there's no camaraderie, nothing. I mean, we have friends. Ray Padilla, phenomenal man, owner of War Room, handles me at my meets. I mean, nobody has been there for me as passionately as Ray. Maybe my parents, but it's insane how much that man shows up for me. And even him, he can't lift it for me. He can't. All he can do is watch. And so in a sport like that, what does that mean? That means if you fail, it's completely on you. That means that if I lost, it's because I wasn't good enough. That's a hard truth. A very, very bitter pill to swallow. What's even worse, and some people think this is better, and I flip-flop as to whether or not I think this is worse or better, but what's even worse is it means you're not good enough, and it also means that you have the choice as to whether or not you get better or you get worse. So to me, it's like, so I'm not good enough, and it's my fault I'm not good enough because I haven't made myself good enough. You know? Then there's also this thought that maybe I'll never be good enough. Maybe I don't have what it takes. You can't let that shit sink in. But I'm just being transparent with you. You know, everybody's gonna think like this. I feel the fear, the nerves, I feel the doubt, I feel the negativity, all of it. It's very real. I'm very open about this. But you can't let that you can hear that voice and recognize that's not his voice, right? That's the enemy. So you have to shut it out. You have to shut it down. Because let me put it to you this way. Even if that were true, let's just humor it. Let's just say it's true. I simply do not have what it takes to be the best in the world, ever in my lifetime. What good does that do me? So then I just quit and I fucking mope around and be a bum? Be average? What the fuck kind of life is that? At least I can say I'm trying. And actually I saw this quote the other day. It was like for the critics, because I have a lot of critics. I have failed more times than you have tried. That's powerful. And it's the truth. So even if somebody came along, some wise wizard came along and told me, yeah, Gavin, I hate to break it to you, but I can see the little innate spirit of greatness you have in you, and it ain't ever going to be enough for what you're trying to do. You're never going to get there. To me, it's like, okay, fuck it. Let's just keep fucking going. Because what else am I going to do? Spend my life doing? I might as well just kill myself then at that point if I'm not going to try at anything. It's a waste of life. But we know that that's not how life works. We have so many examples of people who overcome the odds, who just become so fucking great, it's insane. And the moment they do, now all these other people follow. So did all those other people never have the potential, and then when one person did, now all of a sudden they had the potential? No. The potential was always there. It was just the grit required to grow that greatness. That's a choice. That wasn't there at that time. But then they were inspired and motivated, and then boom. So I don't want to keep running on here, but yeah. This was the hardest loss of my career, for sure. And I feel like I've hit a pretty new low here, especially with everything else going on in my life. You know, I have a lot to be grateful for, but I can't help but think about all the stuff that's lacking, you know, and it's all in me, you know, so it is what it is. Let's see, I want to make sure I hit on at least some of the things that I wrote down. Okay, so the last bit here that I think is worth mentioning in terms of the practical side of things, I am very grateful to have competed, to have shared the platform with so many amazing athletes. We really do push each other to get stronger, and I got to share a beautiful moment with Jamar, Marcellus, Michael, his wife, and Petrie, and I hate if I'm missing. I hate the fact that I might be missing a couple people, but they allowed me to pray with them before the meet, and that was a really special moment. I really am so grateful for that. But yeah, man. So all in all, like, it's not a total loss. Like I said, we did hit the American record on squat, and I wasn't gunning for that, by the way. I did not see that at all. I wanted Jamar to squat 800, so I that doesn't mean anything to me. All I cared about was taking first and giving everything. And I'm struggling with this because, in my mind, my mom would tell me, like, I'm so proud of you. Like, you really do. You go all out. You give everything. You burn your ships. Like, you're only there for number one. And it's that or nothing. It's all or nothing. And I admire that about you. And I'm so proud of you about that. And I my rebuttal to my mom when she had said that after the meet was, we're not here to give everything. We're here to win. And giving everything is simply a requirement of that. So that's the minimum. That's the bare minimum, is giving everything. If you're not willing to give everything, to go all out, to go 110%, to risk everything for that one thing, what are you doing? You shouldn't be here. And it's a prerequisite. So it's like Heidi works at Morgan Stanley, right? Very, very prestigious institution. It'd be like her applying for the job with her college degree, her finance degree, and them clapping and being like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you have this finance degree." It's like, no, like, that's part of the prereq. Like, yes, of course you have the finance degree. That is a requirement. So, I struggle with it, but at the same time, it is very important to not take pride in, but be, I guess, in a different form of it, be proud of your work, And I am proud of my work. I am proud I went all out. I will say on that third deadlift, it wasn't my grip that gave out. So I got to clear this up. My third deadlift, I lost my third deadlift because of bad positioning. So I rushed the setup, and as a result, I wasn't as much in my quads. My back started to round a little bit. Whenever that happens, I end up pulling the weight as opposed to pushing the weight off the floor, and I felt it. So when you pull the weight, I'm using my hamstrings, glutes, and my back. I'm pulling that bar into me. There's only so much my hands can do when my quads are literally pushing the bar out of my hand. So not only is this the heaviest weight I've ever hoisted, but I'm literally pushing the bar out of my hands with my quads. So it wasn't my grip, it's just the fact that my legs were literally pushing the bar out, and poor positioning. I mean, you combine it all together and you have a missed lift. So it is what it is, man. It sucks, it's tough, but it is, yeah. So the only thing I can think of in the meet that would have been different is if I went for the 771 squat, kept bench the same, and then on deadlift, if I just was way more patient with the start position. But even then, guys, from what it looks like, Keiko had way more on his top end on the third pull. So, to say that he didn't have another 5 kilos, I don't know if we could say that. Now, it might have been tighter. Maybe we would have tied on body weight or tied on total, and then I would have won on body weight, maybe. But, that's all hindsight's 20/20. That's all just like looking back. Yeah, I could have done this. You can't say that, right? You got to go in with a very, very impartial lens and look at what worked and what didn't. So that's exactly what we're going to do. The last thing I want to mention before we move on to what's next, I have to say this. Win or lose, it's all for his name, for the glory of God. And I don't say that to be corny or cringy, it's the truth. At the end of the day, titles don't really mean anything, and medals don't really mean anything. And it's hard to retain that truth when you're that in it, when you're in the jungle, when you're in the competition, in the heat of it. You want to win, like, you care about it so much. But then once you are given some space, you're reminded of that. The championships, the titles, all of it, it's really not about that. It's about who you become in pursuit of that. And I may not see it right now. Of course, I'm going to be really hard on myself. But the people who are close to me, who truly know me, who truly love me, they tell me that I have completely evolved and changed as a man and as a human, not just as a lifter, over the last several years. And it's only because I just keep failing and then trying to overcome and trying to learn and trying to face that adversity head on. That's a beautiful thing. And I truly do believe God planted a seed of greatness within each and every one of us. But whether or not you grow it is up to you. That's a choice you have to make. And it's not easy. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I just know that it's possible, and I know that it's necessary. It's a gift that in order for you to appreciate and be grateful for, you have to use. Imagine you gave a gift that you were super excited to give to someone, you were so excited to give to somebody, and they throw it away. They just never use it. They leave it in a corner of their room and it collects dust. And every time you see them, you're like, man, dude, like I love you so much. I wanted to give you that gift, and you don't even care about it, right? So I think to honor him is to use that gift and exhaust it, go all the way with it, and hopefully inspire others to use theirs. And so I'm hoping that this inspires you to use your gifts. It doesn't have to be in powerlifting. It could be in anything. I believe I have more gifts than just as a strength athlete. It's on my identity. And I think we're all like that. But I do think that the seed of greatness planted within you must be grown. It should be grown. It can be grown, but it's your choice to grow it. And sometimes it requires doing this stuff. Now, don't get me wrong. Every plant needs some sunlight. I need some fucking sun, man. I'm tired of losing. But at the same time, you do need the dirt, you do need the rain, you do need the wind. And all three of those things tend to suck. So, yeah. So, yeah, I want to finish the post-nationals thoughts with that we keep moving forward. This was a tough loss. This was a really bitter, hard loss, man. Very angry. This is the first time I was truly angry at losing. I've never felt this way. Like, frustrated, angry. Just very, very angry. Like, just... Yeah. And I'm still working through some of this stuff, but regardless, it doesn't change the fact that we don't stop. We're going to keep going. And we will win 100%. We just keep getting better. So we're going to be making tons of changes to programming, maybe even some technical changes on each movement. And yeah, so without further ado, let's talk about what's next, and we'll close it out. So as of right now, I don't really know. This is the first time I'm in this weird kind of limbo where I don't really have anything like lined up. And that could either be good or bad, pretty much every single year prior, it's been like one big meet after another big meet, but yeah, so as of right now, I did receive the qualification invitation for SBD Austin. I have yet to hear the details about it. I believe it's in November, so that's an option. If not that, I'll probably just prep all the way through till next year's nationals, which sounds crazy to me. But yeah, and then there's also a chance that I could go to the World Games. I still haven't heard back about it, but basically the NAPFs, part of the incentives of going to NAPFs is that the best lifter there wins the alternate spot for World Games. And I was the best lifter at NAPFs back in 2024 in August. And World Games is coming up. It's this year's August. And a lot of lifters are not going, mainly because of the relationship with China. I think maybe they think it's dangerous or something like that. But then also, too, I know like Austin Perkins is having a baby. So congratulations to him and his wife. But I don't think he'll be going to World Games because he's having a baby around that time. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I heard. And so if that's the case, there's slots open and an alternate would take that slot. I would probably take that. It's a big trip, and I think I can make it, but I'm not going to. You know me. Any opportunity I have, I am going to seize. I will eat it all. Like, give it to me and I will take it on. So I don't say no to competitions. I don't say no to that. I am so grateful and so privileged to be able to do what I do. There are people who don't have 4 working limbs. Even if they wanted to go to the World Games and compete, and even if they had the best genetics in the world to do it, they wouldn't be able to do it because they physically can't. They physically can't. I can. And so I feel like it's my fucking obligation, it's my responsibility to take advantage of that. And again, use that gift fully. Bro, this is it. This is what you signed up for. This is what you wanted, was to have this, right? So yeah, I would totally take that opportunity. The only thing that would stop me from taking it is my sister's birthday is around that time, and then Heidi and I's anniversary is September 2nd. So depending on when World Games is and what that travel looks like, it might not be super feasible in terms of like some of my prior obligations to people who I care about. But yeah, we'll see. That's pretty much the only thing that would kind of deter me from that. But yeah, that's basically what's next. And yeah, man, you just keep on going. If you're gonna take the island, you burn the boats. There's no turning back. You know, we have yet to take the island, so we keep going. It's that simple. But all right, guys, I hope I didn't really miss too much, but I think I covered pretty much everything. Sorry if this was just a lot of yapping, but this was a big meet, and I am grateful that I had the opportunity to compete, share the platforms, some phenomenal lifters, and I definitely look forward to totaling well over 950 later this year, and I will hit the 1,000 kg mark within the next couple of years. Like I will, 100%. I know that we're right there. We just keep getting better and better, and just seeing some of the changes we've made with squats and like seeing how rapid some of that success is. It seems rapid, but you know, I've spent years, let's say, hitting a certain plateau or whatever, and then boom, we make one change, and now finally we can break through a certain plateau. I mean, it's just the sky's the limit, dude. There's no reason why I can't be squatting 800 pounds, benching 550 plus, and deadlifting 850 plus. Period. Keiko can bench over 535 casually. Why can't I? That's nothing against him, but why can't I? You know what I mean? Jamar can squat 800. Ashton Russo can squat over 800. Why can't I? Joe Bornstein is deadlifting well over 800. Why can't I? So, to me, sky's the limit. Just gotta put it all together, keep getting better. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. And like I said, look out for the next video. We'll definitely be doing the questions and answers in a separate video, but I definitely want to make sure that that's uploaded pretty much right after this. All right, so real quick before we go to the beach, I gotta show you guys. Bro, look at that. I mean, there's a screen here. There's a screen, so it's gonna be a little weird. But if you ignore the screen, it's pretty, right? Damn. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and everyone who supported, thank you so much. It means the world to me. Shout out to John Song, my coach, for helping handle, Ray Padilla for helping handle, obviously everyone else who was involved. Great event. Powerlifting America did a phenomenal job at Nationals. I thought it was great. And yeah, on to the next. All right, guys. Peace.